She can definitely tell me what y'all know. It's just a few. Yeah.
All right. Good evening, good evening, good evening, everyone. Welcome. I'm excited about this month's guest because this couple is just doing some dynamic things. So welcome everyone to Royalty Business Group and a monthly Facebook Live. I'm Sharon Harrell, your retirement coach diva. And today we are talking about building a business legacy. It's a family affair. And this family is just doing some dynamic things. So I want to introduce to everyone Reginald and Hennifer Gants. And they're going to tell us about their businesses, their passion, and what drives them and how they are just building a legacy. They are really building a legacy. I mean, you have to hear their story and all the wonderful things that they're doing. So welcome this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much for being my guest. And so, Hennifer, tell us about you. Tell us about what you're doing, how you got started. You already told me that you're originally from Baltimore, which I'm not gonna hold that against you, but that both of you are from Baltimore, which is wonderful. So tell us about how you got started.
Yeah, so I am the first child born in the United States of two parents from Sierra Leone, West Africa. And so the American dream was all about getting your good job, going to school so they can proudly boast to their friends about their successful daughter, right? Who is a doctor or a lawyer. I did not do either, and decided to go down the route of teaching, and then changed my mind and went into HR. And what I learned in working through HR, just different capacities, especially when I worked for a staffing agency once. This is before I worked for the federal government for the second time. I realized that there were so many people who could do the job, but they just didn't know how to present themselves on paper. They just didn't know how to say the right things when interviewing. So what would happen? Look, some of my coworkers might be watching this. What would happen? I would stay late, and literally I would get in trouble because I was not supposed to stay after to help anybody. Because when you're working for a staffing agency, I thought it was recruitment, but staffing is not recruitment.
Okay.
They're two different models, right?
Mhm.
And they used to always say, this is not charity, this is not a nonprofit. But I just felt so passionate about being able to equip people with just one nugget, two nuggets, three tips that would take them from not getting the job to getting the job. So I was disobedient for a while. I did definitely heard the voice of the Lord telling me to start my own company. So I was like, well, let me go ahead and put it on paper, but I didn't do anything about it. Fast forward, I'm now working for the federal government, and I got my good old government job. Everybody proud of me. Okay.
Yeah.
And everything was going great, Sharon. And I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you had to leave a good thing. Most of us have to leave things that are bad, like, oh, it's bad. So you're like, oh, let me leave this bad thing. Everything was going good for me. And I heard that I needed to leave my federal government job. Lo and behold, I was, again, disobedient, but went ahead, moved out, and left my federal government job. But it is only because of this gentleman right here and his support that really gave me the courage. I would like to say that it was the full obedience to God, but it wasn't. It wasn't. He's the one saying, why don't you just leave? Why don't you just leave? God is calling you. Why don't you just leave? I got you. I got you. I got you. I got you. And I left. And since then, I have not looked back. And I am now the founder and president of Career Image Solutions, where we specialize in all things hiring and workforce development for working professionals, as well as companies that are looking to hire, retain, and develop their best talent. So again, this would not have happened if I did not meet him. So I'll let him share his story. I don't know. Let me not take over the show.
No.
I don't know what you want to do next.
You're doing a great job. You're doing a great job. It's all practice for that next step, right? That we always putting in practicing for whatever God has leave for us for that next step. So that's for your next step. Yes, Reginald. So tell us about you now. Tell us about how you got to where you are.
Yeah. I'll say, God has been really gracious to me over the years. So I actually too was a federal government employee. I actually am still there, so I've been around 20 plus years at this point in federal government. I've been in HR since 2006.
Mm.
So when I landed in HR back in '06, which was, about 18 years ago now at this point, um, I noticed something right away. And I noticed that it was the individuals who were black and brown, who struggled to get interviews, who struggled to get hired, and mainly it was because of their resume. And I had the same pain point that my wife had. And I wanted to be a solution to that problem. So what I actually started to do in my downtime was I actually started to study resumes. I studied the resumes that were amazing on paper, and I saw what people did, how they worded things, where they placed it, what was it that made the resume stand out. Because I was now in that space, and I started to practice with family and friends. Family and friends started to get interviews. They started to get hired, turned it into a side hustle, turned it into a LLC, got me a little website, created a little Facebook page. And that's actually how Hannah and I met. She found my Facebook page.
Okay.
She was looking to expand because she was already the founder of Career Image Solutions. She was already serving folks who were working professionals, but her heart still is to this day with the small business owner. So she was looking to branch out and serve the small business owner. I strictly only wanted to do resumes. That was my jam. I'm still really good at it till this day. And we met, and the Lord will have us to intertwine business and personal life. And now we have this beautiful family. We have 5 amazing children, and we desire to be used of the Lord, and we really feel like we're anointed in each and every space that we're in. And we just look to add value to society now.
Wonderful. So people still have hope when they on Facebook. You just might meet that
Hey,
next person. So
shout out to Mark
don't give up.
Zuckerberg.
Listen, I never would have thunk it, and I'm telling you, I was not looking. But I think there is something when you just said to that, Sharon, because I think when you are, not sometimes I feel like it's when you're not looking is when you find it, but when you are intentionally in your purpose, then everything else just starts to unlock. You just never know.
Exactly, exactly. So Heather, you said something that caught my attention is that you were an educator.
Mm-hmm.
And so it sounds like that educator heart came out when you got into HR. So tell us about that. Like, what drove you to become an educator?
Yeah, so it's actually a process that I take people through right now when I'm doing career coaching. I have a quote that I came up with, which is, you know who you are, then you know what you want, then you'll know what to do, right? So when I was in undergrad and I recognized who I was, I even at a young age, I just recognized the gifts that I had, but it was because of volunteer experiences, right? I would, grudgingly go and teach the youth at church, and all of the things, and they just liked me, and then I ended up liking them. And so I realized that I had a skill set in that, but never did I think that I would be able to utilize those skills in HR. I loved education, loved teaching, but I thought that I could no longer do it because I wasn't in the traditional classroom. You see, I love the aspect of teaching, but what I didn't like was the politics around teaching. I didn't like someone telling me that I had to teach X, Y, and Z. Little did I know I was a little entrepreneur at heart, because that's the makers of an entrepreneur. When somebody like, I want to create my own thing, right?
Right.
So fast forward now and utilize, I'm just a teacher. I'm a teacher in the space. So you can't come across me and I know something and I don't tell it to you. It's just impossible. I'm always, if I find out something and you are in my sphere, I'm going to be teaching you. And those are some significant transferable skills in HR, whether it's with training, it's utilized when I do coaching, right? And then I'm also teaching other HR professionals how to start their own businesses. But I'm always just trying to hone in on my gift of teaching, because I know that's something that I was truly born with, and now just continue to cultivate.
Okay. And so, Reginald, you tell us about, you said that you are in HR, but you used to focus on resumes. Like, so what do you do, and how did that transform into what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I started off actually in benefits and staffing and recruitment. So I used to review the resumes. But where I made my name in federal government was actually in learning and development. Um, to date, I've probably trained well over 50,000 employees across the federal government. My agency allowed me to actually take my talents and skills into other agencies and train them. Coincidentally, guess what? On what topics? On how to do their resume, on how
Mhm.
to interview, and on how to brand themselves so that they can stand out. So, it was the personal and the professional branding, the resume writing, and the interview tips and techniques that allowed me to really make a name for myself in government. And we've used that skill, just over and over and over again. We've rinsed and repeated. My wife does it with Career Image Solutions. I've done it in government, and then even from a civic standpoint, we've offered those same workshops, those same topics in the community at no additional charge, obviously, as a way of community service and adding value and impacting the lives of individuals here where we reside, which is in the Baltimore County area.
And specifically men too.
Specifically men,
Mhm.
absolutely. Men of color, I have an affinity, as you can see, for men of color. I just happen to be of color. You
Right, right,
so
right.
yeah, my young kings, I like to call them, as well as my middle-aged kings and older kings, we struggle, because society and media portrays us to be one way. And it's
Mhm.
not always that way. It's not always the case. At the heart of every man is a desire to win, right? Is a desire to be successful, is a desire to be somebody. And
Mhm.
sometimes all you really need is somebody to come along and see that value and you see that potential. I've had countless people see that in me over the years, and they've groomed me and shaped me, obviously, along with, the Lord's hand upon my life. And now I take that and I do the same thing in others. I pull out, the kingship that's in them and I point them in the right direction, because I wholeheartedly believe that, when men get right, everything around them gets right as well, just by default. So we just love what we do, So it's workforce development, it's personal development, it's professional development. Look, if we can develop somebody, we're gonna develop them, because behind the scenes, we're always developing ourselves personally and
Mhm.
spiritually.
Exactly, exactly. And that's one thing I believe as well. When you develop yourself personally, it's going to show professionally. And the same
Mhm.
way, when you develop yourself professionally, it's going to come out personally. You can't split the two. You
No,
can't,
Mhm.
you cannot
not one
split the two.
person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I have a comment in the chat already for you, Reginald. It says, my husband needs his services. Talk about you. Said, does he work with folks out here? She is in Los Angeles, California.
Oh,
Yeah.
all over.
A man is a man.
All right.
All
All
over the
right.
globe.
Absolutely.
Well,
The man is a man.
Shahara, her name is Shahara, and we already put your information in the chat, in the Facebook chat. So Shahara, you can reach out to them and connect, so you can connect your husband and start building more out there across on the West Coast.
And Shahar, I just wanted you to know too, for the audience, Reggie has some outstanding books for the entire family, but specifically for men. He has one book that is, I'm telling you, is going to be the Globe's bestseller. It's called Male Pain, and talks about the male experience. And then he has an affirmation book that many wives and women have gotten for. I am a testament when I just hear, oh, I bought this book for my husband, I bought this book for my brother, whatever. So when you check out his link tree, you'll see some of those other resources that you'll be able to see that's specifically dedicated to men.
Yes, and I see another person out here, Shaquana, who is also very interested in your services for both of you. So I'm sure she'll be connecting with you as well. She's in North Carolina.
That's a blessing. Thank you.
Yes, yes. So, Hennifer, tell us about those that you service. What is your client base?
Great question. So we have two kind of groups, is what I would say. One, which is near and dear to my heart, again, are the working professionals. So while we can service just about anybody who desires to work and who desires, who has a career, one of our sweet spots is the mid-career professional. So those individuals who have worked for a while and they are looking to pivot. They're like, hey, I have these skills. What do I do with it? I'm trying to do something. I know I've been called to do something. And I'm telling you, even recently, Sharon, like over the past few years, we've been attracting a lot more tenured working professionals too. And that's been interesting because and it's just been so inspiring because they're like, yep, I'm in my 60s. Yep, I'm in my late 60s and 70s, and I'm ready to pivot again. So the working professionals that are looking to pivot from what they've always done to what they've been called to do, I believe in working on purpose, right? So that's the one category. And then the others, because that's how the business got started, right? Helping the working professional. We've been able to position many working professionals in front of organizations, right? So organizations that are growing, that are growth-based, that are focused on going to the next direction, whether you have 15 employees or 500, they usually would bring us in to either recruit for them or they bring us in to train for them, right? Also HR services as well, especially when companies either don't have HR or they have HR, but they need additional support. But primarily what we've been moving in a direction is the recruitment as well as the training. And unfortunately, as I was telling you a little earlier, when companies are going through transition and they have to do some laying off, or maybe they're just trying to shift who they have, we also offer outplacement services. So again, everything hiring, everything training, everything development is what we do for both the working professional as well as for the organizations that are looking to grow.
You know what, I've heard in what you were saying, there's so much value to what you are bringing to your clients that you're working with. And both on both sides, as far as individual and company, because what I heard also from before we started this is that you, and while we're doing this, that you're a coach. So bringing those skills as a coach to help people to navigate and find within themselves that purpose. They might already know, like, this is what I am called to do, but you are helping them to lay out that foundation.
Yeah, for sure. And I love it. I love it so much. I feel like that's one of the things I've been just like, when you're doing that one thing, man, career specifically, I'm not no life coach now. But when it comes to, careers, I'm telling you, I feel like I'm oil for that thing. I just love it so much. When people ask questions, what would you do if you could do anything without getting paid? That's the one thing for me.
Yes. That opens the door to so much. That one question. One question. So, Reginald, tell us about the branding. You mentioned about how you help people to determine their brand, and I'm sure that works hand in hand with what Hennifer is doing. So tell us about how that came about and how you do that.
Yeah, so we actually had a presentation that we ran for a long time. My wife created it. So let me just go ahead and give a shout out to my wife is a creative genius. Not only is she a coach, but she's also a preacher. She's all my favorite term is preacher. So she's always preaching, right? But creatively, she's created pretty much anything that I've ever taken, on the road, whether it was resume writing, whether it was interviewing the brand new, how to stand out personally and professionally. My wife was the brain behind it. And we just basically talk about how to position yourself, because it's one thing to look amazing on paper, right? It's another thing to be able to interview well. But what a lot of people need to understand is that your brand is who you are, whether you're in the room or not, right? Your brand is who you are when you leave the room and what people are saying. So if your name is preceding you, you need to understand what is it saying. You could be amazing on paper, but if you are known to be that cancerous person in the office, that toxic person in the office, and we've all worked with that person, whether it's in this job or past jobs or past life, right? It doesn't matter how you look on paper. It doesn't matter how you interview. Once folks get a whiff of who you are as a person, they're not going to want to work with you, right? So we talk about how to clean yourself up personally, how to clean yourself up professionally, how to make yourself a good name. That way, now that you look amazing on paper and now you interview well, the whole package is now complete. We've done really well, when we've taken that training into colleges, into nonprofits, into
Mm.
corporate America, into the community.
Yeah, yeah. Colleges, that's great because they need to start at the
Mhm.
beginning.
Yeah.
My
Yeah,
wife was
they-
at what was it? A college last week, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. 2 workshops last week, I believe.
Yeah, start at the beginning where they are starting to get that exposure to being out in the world. So yeah, that sounds great. That sounds great. So what else do you have going on? I know you have some things coming up going on. And before you say anything about that, I want to make sure that our guests that are online know that we are not just having a conversation between the two of us. You are included. So continue to put your questions, your comments in the chat because they have a lot of information to share and I can only think of so much at one time. So we do want your input. So please make sure that you are asking questions and want to learn more about, what they have to offer. So tell us about some of the things that you have coming up.
So I want to shout out 2 things that we have been privileged to partner with, right? So one being eSuite, which is happening tomorrow. That is with Pathways to Excellence. And that's what you and I were chatting about a little earlier. And it's registration, no cost registration. And I personally have participated as a participant, and now I'm returning as a speaker. I'll be talking about the workforce trends for the end of the year, as well as in 2025, things that people really need to consider. And the title of that is called The Writing is on the Wall. There's a lot of things we've been ignoring, and I'll be talking about that. So Pathways to Excellence is definitely doing something tomorrow. Definitely go check them out. And you'll see that, especially if you go on my LinkedIn page, you'll see the promotion there. And then secondly, through the same organization, I've been able to partner with them, and the founder is Erica Roberts. And on a weekly basis, we do something called Workforce Wednesdays. So I come in as a guest through her organization to, again, provide real live tips regarding, anything. People can come on and just talk about anything. And I know you're in Prince George's County, and we really would love for more Montgomery County residents to attend. So if you're in Montgomery County, there's some special little perks for you for attending, but it's called Workforce Wednesdays, every Wednesday, Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m., where you could just pop in, whether you're in government, private, working, not working. And again, you just get real live tips regarding your career and your career next move. Last but not least, why don't you talk to us? Hey, Dina. Yep, that's right. And why don't you talk about the networking?
Yeah. So for anybody that's local to Baltimore, at the end of this month on Friday, October the 25th, we are having another what we call networking with the Gants. And what it is basically is a gathering we've just come to have a good name in our city, right? Not just in our city, but in our state, up and down the East Coast. So we've come to know a lot of small business owners, a lot of working professionals, a lot of recruiters, a lot of folks that are looking for jobs. And we just love to connect the dots, right? So we bring all of these individuals together. We're having that event. It's going to be in downtown Baltimore, so right in the Inner Harbor area. It's going to be not this Friday, but the last Friday of October, October 25th. The registration link is right there in the chat. It's going to be that bit.ly/Gant Network. Gant Network is all caps, by the way. And if you are in the area and you want to come out, you want to meet new people, you want to find out who's doing what, you want to be introduced to some folks, you might want to even share a little bit about what you have going on. Sharon, that's what we're having at the end of the month. You had the privilege of being an attendee of one of them in the past. Hopefully you made some great connections. And I believe that's actually how we even got to where we are tonight, as a result of that last event.
Being invited by somebody through Workforce Wednesdays.
Dina.
Yes, definitely. So with the Pathways to Excellence, is that a virtual event or is it in person? How does it work?
Yep, it is a virtual event. It's virtual. Both events that I just shared is virtual. The Workforce Wednesdays will be going forth until about mid-December. and then it's going to stop. This is our maybe second, third time doing this in iterations. And then the event tomorrow, again, is called the E-Suite. If you go to Pathways, the number 2, the letter X, I believe is .org, you'll see in the event section the event for tomorrow. Again, no cost registration, but both events are virtual.
You said Pathways, the number 2.
The number 2, the letter X,
Yeah, I believe it's
.org.
.org.
Okay.
Mhm.
All
Yep.
right, so I put that in the chat for everyone so they can go in and register and attend as much time as you can. If you can't attend the whole session.
Yeah, it's gonna be
attend
good.
as
It's
you
gonna be
can.
good. And there's just so many offerings right now, right? So especially with the state of the workforce, for anybody that's whether you're in business or not, we just got to pay attention to what's happening, y'all. So, if somebody is having something, just try your best to just put your foot in. Even if you put your foot in, put your finger in, and
Yeah.
see what you can get from it.
Yes, definitely, definitely. I appreciate that you sharing that. And so, Rachel, I know you're doing more than what you shared.
Yeah.
So tell us
Mhm.
about some more stuff
Yeah,
that you're
I
doing.
mean, it's so many layers, it's like an onion, right?
Mhm.
So, and there's so much more to my wife as well, because she definitely has a whole slew of other things that we didn't get a chance to. But look, we need a whole talk show, by the way, but
You do.
we'll get to that later. But so to everybody on here, so I have 2 things that are near and dear to my heart, right? One is my organization. It's called Serve for Men, and I just want you to, if you can't share, just type this into the chat. It's serve the number 2 men.com. I just want everybody to, I'm sorry, yeah, serve for men, serve the number 4.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay.
serve for men.
Come to help me, y'all.
Yeah, thank
Come to
you.
help.
Serve the number 4 men.com.
Uh-huh.
And it's an organization
Okay.
that I created, for men, fathers, husbands. We do meetups virtually, we do them in person. But the whole goal of the organization is empowerment. I believe in creating a safe space where men can hold each other accountable, and an environment that's loving and that's caring. Men, we can have real talk with one another. We can get the support and encouragement that we need. So through that organization, that's how I publish my books. I have 5 books out. So I have books of affirmation for children that are school age, elementary school, all the way up to books for men. So I have every aspect covered, teenagers and everything.
Mhm.
But what's also near and dear to our heart is our work from home opportunity. We've been a part of an amazing organization called Legal Shield. My wife since 2005. Literally, we've been a part of a company that's been putting money into our household each and every month for almost the last 20 years. And the reason why we are so passionate about it is because the mission behind Legal Shield is equal access to justice. And I use the tag on my LinkedIn that, my work makes and justice for all a reality. At the end of the Pledge of Allegiance, the last 4 words are and justice for all. But we know that we live in a country where sometimes justice is not fair, right? Justice is different for different people, right? Because you can get just as much justice as you can afford. So with our organization, with our work from home opportunity, we have the privilege of educating and protecting and empowering individuals, businesses. We protect them in their identities. We put mobile apps on their cell phones so that they can have 24/7 emergency access. We help them with wills and estate plans, now trust, things that you need to give you 3 things. These are 3 things that we want to make sure that you walk away with when you interact with us in Legal Shield. Number 1 is peace of mind, whatever that looks like for you. Number 2 is protection around you and your family, around your identities, around your business, if you're a business owner. And then number 3 is a plan in place. Life is going to happen. So it's not a matter of if. When life happens to you, are you going to have a plan in place that's going to be on your side and beneficial to you financially? So that's the Legal Shield in a nutshell. That's Serve for Men in a nutshell. I could use a whole episode to talk about each of them, to be honest.
Yes, and both of them are very great. And I know personally, Legal Shield is a great service to have. I have used my service over the years several times, and it has been very beneficial and a cost savings. And they offer some discounts too.
Yes,
Absolutely.
we do.
So, yeah, if you haven't looked at it, you need to look at it and see about just getting the discounts alone will pay for the membership. So that is good. So I know this couple has a lot going on, and I wish I could take up more of their time this evening, but maybe we could do a part 2, because I know they have to rush off and get their children and get them ready for the next day. But I do want to say that I appreciate you both so much. And we're going to do a part 2 so we can go further into everything that we discussed in more detail. But we definitely will need to connect. I will be seeing you, Lord willing, at the end of the month. And looking forward to logging into some of those Workforce Wednesdays. So I need to make sure I put that on my calendar. And everyone else, put them on your calendar. Check out the websites that are in the chat. Also, connect with them, learn more about, follow them on LinkedIn, and, you know, keep up with them to see what they're doing and see how you can be a part of it. So thank you again so much, Reginald and Jennifer Gant, doing their family business, building their legacy. Thanks so much. And everyone have a great evening.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, everybody.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.